you need to know exactly why you're buying the iPhone 15 or 15 Pro Max. So as a lot of you might know, the iPhone 15 just went on pre-sale yesterday, and on Tuesday was the main event. I'll kind of go through the pros and cons of everything, but to be honest, I think the 15 regular is one of the most pro iPhones that we've had so far. If you're literally coming from any regular iPhone, the 14, the 13, the 12, the 11, so on, you literally haven't had a 48 megapixel camera. That is one of the biggest upgrades they've done to the camera this year. They did this last year with the iPhone 14 Pro line, creating the first megapixel jump in a very, very long time, from 12 megapixels up to 48. It was a really good jump, and over the past year, I've been able to experience and have a lot of fun with this new 48 megapixel sensor that I get to take advantage of. So with that being said, obviously the 15 will be able to take advantage of the same 48 megapixel camera. Another thing that they introduced with the Pro lineup from the 14 is that dynamic island. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that dynamic island was game-changing type of technology. To be honest, it is way more of a luxury, and some people might even think it's a gimmick. To be quite honest, it is a really nice luxury, and I'm glad that the 15 lineup gets to see the light of the dynamic island, and we could finally, at least in the iPhone lineup, say goodbye to the notch. I know the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air lineup still have the notch. Maybe we'll see dynamic island in that one day as well, but for now, the computers have the notch and the phones no longer do. For the first time ever, Apple kind of stunted the growth of their regular lineup. See, typically the way that it would work is that every single year, the iPhone across the board would get the exact same chip. But last year was the first year that Apple decided we're gonna take the Pro line and give them the newest chip while keeping the same chip from last year in our regular lineup. Obviously, since they did that last year, this year, the regular lineup is getting the A16 Bionic, which used to power the 14 Pro Max. Essentially, you get a faster chip, something that was in the Pros last year. So good on Apple for putting the Pro chip in the 15, but also bad on Apple because you literally had to stunt the growth from the year before. It kind of cancels out. It's kind of carbon neutral at this point. Moving on, you also get USB Type-C, but only kind of. It comes with a little bit of a caveat. And this could have been way more exciting if Apple decided to use a better power delivery with USB Type-C. We don't get any sort of fast charging. And with the regular lineup, we actually don't even get to see any sort of data transfer upgrades. It's kind of Lightning in a different shape. It's a little messed up to say that. It has a lot of potential and possibilities in the future, but for right now, let's just all be glad that we got USB Type-C. To be quite frank, I didn't really mind Lightning. I know it was worse probably in every single way, but I honestly didn't do any sort of data transfers or anything like that, so I honestly didn't mind, but there are people who actually do use that, so good for you. And truly, if we can benefit from these things later into the future, when Apple is ready to finally unleash the full potential of USB Type-C, faster charging, and better data transfer speeds all across the board, then we'll all be able to benefit from them. Truly, I would say 13 Pro is kind of a gray area. 12 Pro, 11 and beyond, you are definitely in a comfortable spot to go ahead and upgrade. You'll get a camera bump, you'll get a battery bump, depending on where you're coming from. You'll also get USB Type-C, which is really, really good. And you'll get Dynamic Island, which depending on where you're coming from, you've never experienced before, and it's going to be really, really fun to have that for the first time. Moving straight on to the pros, baby. Now, obviously, year to year in general, things get really hard to upgrade because they're so incremental, especially on the Pro line, but there are some pretty decent things to take into consideration. The first is the new design. If you really didn't like the boxy design of the 12, 13, 14, then you're gonna really like the design of the 15. Not only is it made of titanium, which is supposed to be lighter and stronger than stainless steel, but also it has a new, more curved design. It's just a little bit more curved. It's not that much more curved, but I'll kind of display it and be able to tell you a little bit more when I get my hands on the 22nd. Yeah, baby. I pre-ordered it. The Pro Max specifically, you actually do get a better camera system. Kind of, you get a 122 millimeter zoom. It's gonna be really, really cool if you're into zooms. To be honest, I don't get the infatuation with wanting to get even closer and closer and closer into things that are really far away. I personally don't do it in my day-to-day life. If I really need to see something from that far away, I kind of squint and then give up at some point. I don't know. I just don't find it that necessary to need to look at something that far away. And I think Apple knows that in general. I don't think it needs to be flashy and say 200x zoom. You could see the moon. It is really cool that Samsung has developed the technology to be able to do that, but I don't think I necessarily need to do it. It is a little bit gimmicky in my head. I try to do a little bit of research on this, and I'm not going to go into detail or speak as if I'm a professional at this, but the A17 Pro is the first 3nm chip in a phone. Now, to us laymen, to us regular people, 3nm chip, better efficiency and power mean better experience, mean possible better battery life, mean good. For everybody else who knows what a 3nm chip means and the transistors and how you fit it into everything, listen, you go off in the comments, you try to educate me, okay? I did a little bit of research. I don't know that much, but it is a better chip than the A16, which was in last year's phone. In the Pro models, you also get USB Type-C, so USB Type-C across the board, but this is better USB Type-C. With the iPhone Pro and Pro Max, you actually do get better transfer speeds. This is part of unlocking USB Type-C. Basically, with the Pro lines, you're able to transfer data from your device to another device way quicker. So shooting images and video are going to be way faster to take off of your iPhone onto your computer. Maybe your editing software really fast. It'll make workflow a lot better. So like every year, it really just depends on why you're doing whatever you're doing. If you like battery, if you like cameras, if you like the connection ports, if you like the materials, it really is all up to you. Hopefully you're doing the iPhone 15 naked, because nothing is better than a naked phone, except for maybe this case that I made a whole video on. Go check it out if you haven't already. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here. Be safe.